Absolutely excited to get this conversation going. It's the final one of the day. And really, essentially, what we want to do is look at three questions here. What does tourism really contribute to the various economies? Who benefits from it, right? And what turns visitor spending into lasting growth? I think I'll begin with you, Mr. Garayev, you're closest to me. When we look at Azerbaijan and your story, like our host Angola, it's an oil economy, right? Walk us through that journey of moving from reliance on oil and energy to making tourism a meaningful contributor to GDP. What was that journey like?
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank all the organizers for inviting us and giving opportunity to share ideas and to learn something new, to understand what the processes are going on. Yes, there are a lot of similarities between the situation in Azerbaijan in the beginning of the century and today's situation in Angola. Both countries are depending on the natural resources, oil, gas, and of course, this is not the idea to keep all the economy connected to this kind of activity. The problem of the and necessity of the diversification of the economy came at the beginning of the century. In 2001, the president of the country established the Ministry of Tourism, which was responsible to start developing tourism like one of the important directions of the economy. It was a difficult time, but I think that today Angola is going the same way. And I can say that there are certain points where I consider we can advise some activity which will bring for better understanding. First of all, if you announce to the tourism like an industry the priority of the development of the country, you must put perfect coordination between the governmental institutions. If there is no understanding between them, it will be very difficult to go further. According to the figures of the World Tourism Organization at that time, tourism required for the services providing for the newcomers, for the people coming to a country, at least between 37 and 45 professions which had to be involved in the process of the services for tourists. Today, I think it's even more, because digitalization, the other possibilities, it brings more. And of course, all of them are linked to the different governmental institutions and which are guided by the certain ministries. And if every minister is going to protect the interests of their own, it will be very difficult to develop tourism, because the tourism is something which is taking care about all this area of activities. And thanks to the advice of that time of Mr. Talib Rifai, who was the General Secretary of the United Nations Tourism, the special council were created in the country. This council consists of the high governmental officials, like at the level of the Deputy Prime Minister, and all necessary ministries, starting with the health, border, immigration, I don't know, agriculture, everyone was representing in this council. And every representative of the ministry was targeted not to protect the interest of the ministry, but to protect the interest of the tourism development, like the main aim for them to follow up the strategy of the state. And only this permitted us to facilitate the visa. We digitalized the visa. You can come to Azerbaijan now. 2 hours before your departure, you can you apply for the visa, and when you are landing, you can take and enter the country. Here we noticed some difficulties in this question. The other thing that the question of benefit, who is benefiting from the tourism development? Everyone. All these professions which are involved in the services of tourism are benefiting during this process. And the tourism can be not only the driving force of the, economic growth. It is the matter of the bringing new realities, new working places for young generation. At the end of the day, it is the matter of the progress of the country and putting your country vision to the world map. So all societies are generating. And I think that tourism is something today, Angola showed that it's interested in bringing this kind of vision to the world. And I wish good luck, and we are happy to see this development which are made during the last years. And I think that to share these ideas and practices and experiences are of great importance. So my personal advice, create some council, put everyone there to think about tourism like the priority for that.
Fantastic. A lot to learn, certainly, for Angola from Azerbaijan's journey. Let me come to you, Minister de Lille, because South Africa posted a record year for arrivals. Was it 10.5 million, I believe, last year? And these are numbers you were seeing pre-pandemic, so quite a rebound for the country. What actually led to that from your perspective?
Well, good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity. Let me thank my dear brother, Minister of Tourism from Angola, for bringing us together. I like what you also said this morning, that we should ensure that this does not become another talk shop, but we look at implementation. For me is that as Africans, we've been blessed with the most beautiful natural beauty in the world. And it's a shame that only 5% of the world tourists come to Africa. And as ministers of tourism, we must now stop complaining and ask ourselves, one, why? Secondly, what are we going to do about it? And how are we going to partner with the private sector? Because no government can do it alone. And the role of ministers of tourism within our governments is to make government understand that tourism policy is economic policy. Tourism worldwide contributes by about 4.9% to the GDP of our different countries. But in the case of South Africa, I got tired of hearing the word COVID-19. And we are recovering and recovering. I said, until when must we recover? I mean, this sector was the worst hit by COVID, almost devastated. And how do you look at growth? So the growth and the record numbers of 10.5 million visitors that we received in 2025 was no coincidence. It was by design. By design, by bringing the public sector and the private sector together in one room. And say, let us identify only 5 issues that can make this sector to grow. And then thereafter, we then decide who is going to do what, and when, and where, and budget. So we then develop a tourism growth partnership plan together. Because sometimes the sector wants to hold government to account. Nobody's holding them accountable. And once we put the tourism growth partnership plan together and we own it together, they can hold me accountable, I can hold them accountable. But 2 of the key things that we identified that we have to do almost like immediately is ease of access. And within ease of access, in the case of South Africa, was that many of our big source markets had problems in getting a visa to come to South Africa. At sometimes you apply for a visa, it can take a year or 8 months before you get your visa. So we said, Let us reform our visa system. And let's digitize our visa system. We now have a visa system whereby you can apply for a visa from the comfort of your home, on your cell phone, with a turnaround time of 24 hours. And that became a big enabler to grow the tourism number. The second one, and I will stop there, is that also now you need to get the flights, you need to have air access, you need to grow and get more flights to fly to your country. And Brother Minister, you've got a big, beautiful airport, but it's empty. You need to get more flights to come to Angola. And then we decided then to go out and engage the airlines around the world to say to them, will you fly to our country? Will you fly to South Africa? Said, yes, Minister, but there need to be a demand. So we then came together with the private sector and we worked together to do joint marketing to drive up the demand. So those were two of the key sectors that help us to grow the tourism. But you also need new tourism products. You know, in our case, people have this perception that South Africa is all about safaris and Table Mountain. We had to go out to the world and show them what else you can come and do in South Africa. So, sorry I was a bit long, but that more or less what we have done.
Right.
Very deliberate so that we can grow the sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I was actually one of those 10.5 million last year. I visited Table Mountain and Robben Island, and I absolutely love South Africa. But let me come to you, Minister Rwodzi, because, well, congratulations are in order, first of all. You won the Destination of the Year as a country. And then also, you were named Africa's Tourism Minister of the Year as well. I'm curious, yes, round of applause, certainly. I mean, and this part of the session is essentially to kind of have a scorecard. Beyond what the brochure says, what are the numbers really saying, right? Accolades are fantastic, but do the numbers back up why you got such an acclaim in Zimbabwe?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And let me also thank my little brother, Masio. He's my little brother, for the job well done, let me say, and congratulations. This investment forum has been amazing, and you've been doing a great job in marketing, not just Angola, but Africa as a whole. Yes, Zimbabwe has been rated the Destination of the Year by Forbes magazine last year for 2025, as well as Condé Nast. And I'm sure everybody in the room in the tourism industry understands what it means. But let me say it's about the figures. And not at a different spectrum for Zimbabwe or for this speculation that has been done. Numbers that increased, the frequency of people coming into our country is improved by 58%. Yes. Probably, and I'm always telling people, my neighbor, my sister, we are nowhere compared to them in terms of the numbers. And numbers don't lie. They were written in the morning. Angola, Kenya, Ethiopia, and many other countries. But it was the improvement, the difference between the numbers that came into the country, in any country in 2024, in terms of percentage, coming into your country between 2024 and 2025. And Zimbabwe made a huge improvement, which is a great improvement for us from the years that we are coming from, compared to the years that we are coming from. And it came as a surprise also to us. Condé Nast was totally a surprise. As you know, that it's a media magazine that is a niche, for the niche market, to understand or to learn that your niche market across the world has been choosing our country as a destination of choice. has been amazing, and I would like to thank everyone else who has made this contribution for our country. But otherwise, yes, it's about the numbers, and it's about the aggressive marketing that we've been doing. But let me say, our president's mantra of saying Zimbabwe is open for business, and we have an objective. He has a vision where he sees his country being an upper middle income society by 2030. And one of his foreign policies that we have seen and proved to have worked through tourism as well as foreign affairs is Zimbabwe is an enemy to none and friends to all, while its door is open to anyone. So you may call us an enemy, but we are your friend. We'll never be an enemy to anyone, and we are open for any business. And also the improvement and of the policies for investment that gives comfort. As everyone else was saying in the morning, investment follows confidence. Peace and security is our #1 priority within our policies. Zimbabwe is peaceful. Above everything, we depend on our beautiful hospitality, our people, our culture. Just the authenticity when it comes to tourism as a strategy is our storytelling, not just for Zimbabwe, I will insist for Africa. We have the most beautiful storytelling and authenticity. So I'm thinking with all these strategies that the president came up with within his NDS-1, and now it's into the NDS-2, is doing a great job. And we've just won a Security Council seat, which we won by 96%, which is speaking about tourism being an enabler of soft diplomacy. When you're nice to people, you are addressing soft diplomacy. And the Minister of Foreign Affairs deals with the hard politics, while we deal with the soft things that will make people be receptive, accept you, and able to continue doing business with you. I thank you.
Thank you. No, certainly. It's interesting because the common theme I'm noticing from Azerbaijan, South Africa, Zimbabwe is that issue of access that you got right, making it easier for people to actually get to the country. But let me come to you, Sheikh Al-Gahtani. Saudi Arabia now drives close to half of the entire Middle Eastern's tourism economy. That's huge. Talk to me about what the government did right to actually achieve that.
They did exactly what Angola and His Excellency did. They opened their hearts, minds, and brains to the world. And through that, I wanted to do something this morning. What would have been nice is to show a hand how many, for the first time, they are here in Angola. It's now a bit late, and thank you for the survivors of today, but I'm sure for a lot of us, who is for the first timers, this is not going to be the last. And I think this is very crucial. His Excellency, the Minister, said something very important. And I think this is also very important in Saudi as well. Everyone who comes for the first time or for many times in Saudi, and I'm sure this is the same case here in Angola, they would always say, it's the smile. It's feeling that you are in someone's home, no matter where you are, whether you are in a gas station, in a road, you're meeting him in the street. The Saudi nation, and I'm sure it's the same here because I walk the streets as well here, is they feel you are at their home. And I think this is very crucial. We heard enough today, and it's very important, I wouldn't say it's not, of policy, of strategy, of vision, of alignment, of infrastructure, of easing, of regularity, easing and permitting and so forth. These are all crucial. It's in the end of the day, whether you as a country believe that this is a vision that you can put, that you can follow through a systematic and process, and the results will come. The numbers will show. So I wouldn't look at the numbers as much as making sure the system works. And through that, in Saudi, for example, we have achieved in 2023 what we wanted to achieve in 2030, which is 100 million visitors. This is a country that a few years back MICE was only the tourism which is basically based on oil and gas and religion. Now, we are the capital of many things within the tourism. And tourism, as many said here, is not about hotels only. It's about building an ecosystem of infrastructure, of financing, and so on and so forth. So you are on the right steps. We're not here to give anyone's lessons. It's more here of interaction, because I think business, and I'm from business, done is outside, is where the interaction happens. Here, we lay the foundations. Thank you.
Thank you. And you're the sole investor on this panel. Literally everyone should be courting you after this. And we'll be talking about that a bit later on. But let me come to you, Commissioner. You know, we've seen the numbers earlier on in the day that Africa is one of the fastest growing regions when it comes to tourism. However, it pales in comparison to regions like Europe and the Gulf, for instance. What is still holding back the continent in terms of having a meaningful share and contribution to GDP as far as tourism?
Thank you so much. Please also allow me to really congratulate both the government of Angola as well as the organizers for this great investment forum on tourism. And I think investment is one of the pillars, of one of the factors that is still withholding a proper development of our economic sector, which is tourism. Economics, the tourism, as well as the agro sector, needs long-term investments. So from that perspective, we really need to look at what is the rentability within this system. And the rentability in the sector is also very long-term. It is not short-term. Therefore, I really think that having said that, one of the things or the instrument we really need to look at, how do we get long-term investment for the African tourism sector? Now, you can have investment, but if you do not have the enablers, you have a problem. This is where we have the second sector, which is the lack of African specialized private sector in tourism. I don't know how it is here in Angola, but in Central Africa, most of the agencies, travel agencies, are not run by Central Africans. So we really have a problem. It's that the sector is still too dependent on non-Africans, which means they cannot realize long-term investments. So we have two models. One model which has shown really successful, which is the model of Ethiopia, and which I believe this is almost the model that is being doing here in Angola, is the state needs to ensure that it brings in sufficient investment within that sector and ensures to create the ecosystem around this sector. Ethiopia has shown us that very, very nice. Today, Ethiopia is one of the biggest hubs in Africa. It has an incredible airline which which brings, I think, up to 13 or 14% to the GDP of the country. And it has diversified within this sector by creating hotels, having tourism schools, etc. The second option that we have is really to reinforce and to strengthen our private sector. Now, we also have two different types of tourism in Africa. We have the global tourism that goes from the world into Africa, that can and has been bringing a lot of financing, but it is not sufficient. We also need to look at the intra-African tourism. And intra-African tourism will also boost this ecosystem we definitely need in order to improve the services. So services, the quality of services is very important, which is linked to the development of the private sector within the tourism sector in Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And for pointing out just the need to diversify into intra-African tourism. Perfect segue into your question, Waziri. Because you were at the helm of the Ministry of Tourism in Kenya for years. Kenya is a very interesting kind of setup. 52% of the visitors are foreign visitors, mostly from Europe and other parts of the world. How are we trying to diversify into Africa and also domestic tourism to kind of make up for what would not have happened if those visitors didn't make it into the country?
Thank you very much, Victoria, and thank you, Minister Masio, for inviting us here in Angola. I was here 10 years ago. Now I came here yesterday. I can't believe Angola has changed. So congratulations, and congratulations to the government. Victoria, thank you very much for your question. First of all, I see my title is former minister, and we have my colleague Abufaz, former minister. When you are former minister, you are forgotten. Or you are just, nobody knows about you. But I want to thank Gloria Guevares from the WTTC, who called me and said, come and join me. And now I'm the Executive Vice President in charge of government affairs, advocacy, and research. Our core business at WTTC is actually the private sector's interest. And we are the ones who are doing the action on behalf of government. Government does the regulatory aspect. We do the real work, that building hotels, creating the products. But I want to say here, our core business is data. And the previous panel I've seen is you can have a beautiful country, but you have not structured the project for it to be bankable and for it to be executed. And here, we in the private sector, at WTTC, we specialize in data. And when we see data, who benefits? You've seen this last year. What was the figures? 1.5 billion people traveled. 11.7 trillion worth of value of tourism. The problem is we discuss tourism, it's just a tiny little segment within government. Sometimes when you're a minister of tourism, you think you're a junior minister. And when you are a minister and you have an argument of your budget, you are not important because you're not politically correct. What WTTC does is quantify the value of tourism, not the number of tourism and direct benefit. It is direct benefit, indirect benefit, jobs, and induced benefits. So the total value is what the government will take us seriously. I've been a minister for 17 years, 12 years, Minister of Tourism. My brother Abufaz has been a minister for 22 years, 17 years, Minister of Tourism. When we present our budgets, nobody listens to us. And that does not come to us. All of us here, colleagues, Patricia, Barbara, we can see we are not hard. But when you put the value, the holistic value, then they will know we are serious. And definitely, Commissioner here has talked about what I'm passionate about. We have 1.5, almost 1.3 billion people in Africa. Why are we not targeting 1.3 billion people? We are going to the US, we are targeting 200 million people. We are going to Europe, we are targeting 400 million people. And here, we stop each other from traveling. If you want to come to Kenya, you need a visa. You go to Mozambique, you need a visa. Yeah? While in Europe, you have one big Schengen visa. President El Chapo today morning, he said, why can't Africa has a regime like the Schengen visa? Accessibility and connectivity and seamless travel is the one thing that will make Africa change. Victoria, I can tell you, if we don't do that, we are not going to have any change in Africa. Minister Masio can build a beautiful airport, it will be empty. I can tell you why it's empty, because there's no demand for the airline to be profitable, from the Angolan airline to be profitable, because there's no demand. But when there is intra-Africa travel, there'll be a demand. And if you look at a country that is balances between domestic tourism and international, those are successful countries. If you are dependent, biased in one sector, you are at a loss. In Kenya in 2008, when I just got appointed as a Minister of Tourism, we started, we call it domestic tourism. When COVID hit us, when the world closed down, we benefited much more than pre-COVID because of domestic tourism. We allowed our facilities to actually not choose the color and the nationality of our visitors, but who pays to our kitty. And that's how we benefited. Domestic tourism cannot be ignored, and that is what builds capacity for Africa. And my sister here, Commissioner, she agreed with me. She said, we need to build capacity. Again, the 8 priorities WTTC has echoed. One is seamless travel. We need to upgrade our systems. We don't want to go in an airport and you have 5 officers 5 times checking the same passport, the same boarding pass for identification. That will actually bring us backward. The second is workforce. We need to concentrate of skills development for our people. Then we'll be able to actually benefit the community. The third one is crisis preparedness. Ebola is coming. People think the whole Africa is Ebola. I can tell you, myself and my CEO, Gloria, we are going to Macau next week. We were told we can't go to Macau because we need 21 quarantine because we came to Angola. Angola doesn't have Ebola. Why are we being painted with one brush? We need a strategy to address such things. So we miss our Macau conference, and here because we are painted Ebola. So we need connectivity. Connectivity is key. We can't go to the north to come to the south. We need to have corridors, south to south corridors. We congratulate Ethiopian Airlines, but we can do better with South African Airlines, with Kenya Airways, with Angolan Airlines. So we can do that, but we have to understand it's not about just the pride of a national carrier. It's a pride of a Pan-African carrier. That is what we want. And then we have destination stewardness, climate, environment, and social, and then action, and then new technologies, which is important. And crown it all, the investment code that is required. And I want to congratulate Angola. I've seen a lot of investment, and the way you have presented yourself, we are ready at WTTC to support you in this agenda. Thank you very much.
Well said. Thank you very much, Waziri. And in the interest of time, we'll just do one last round, closing thoughts from the panel. And let me come back to you, Mr. Garayev, because Azerbaijan has been able to attract the big events, right? The Grand Prix, the big festivals. And how does that truly become a tourism economy and not just a nice weekend for someone who's coming into the country? How do you make that translation become a lasting driver of economic growth for the country?
Thank you for the question. After so impressive opinions of my colleagues expressed here, I thought about the necessity of the formulating of the image of the country, of the tourism, idea in general in the country, which will accept and attract people from different parts of the world. And from this point of view, I think the experience how to put the country on the world map is connected with the cultural, activities. We enjoyed yesterday and today at the entrance the beautiful dancing of the local ladies and gentlemen, impressing with the energy. Yesterday I joined myself with the dancing and enjoyed it much. We must think about the strength of the intangible heritage. Intangible heritage is something which attracts the attention of the different slices of the communities in different countries. Some people interested in music, some people interested in cuisine, some people interested in the other activities. And this intangible heritage, knowledge and activities can attract a lot of interest to the country. For example, the festivals connected with the national dances, the festivals connected with the cuisine, national artistic festivals, theatrical festivals, all of these activities, international events can bring a lot of interest to this country. You have beautiful facilities, you have new airport, you can facilitate it through the big international events. In our example, we have now Formula One, we have World Forum for Intercultural Dialogue, we have, festivals of music, and all of them are targeted to the different categories of the people in different countries. Through that, you can invite and widen the knowledge about your country, about the heritage of your country, about traditions of your country, and through that, you can bring love and passion towards the traditions of the people living here. And the second thing, which I consider not less important, that this intangible heritage strictly linked to the local population. Local communities will be generated and benefiting through these activities to their style of life, to their presenting of their traditions and so on. It comes to the matter of education. Of course, we have to educate the people not only at the level of the high management of the hotels. We have to educate those who are living in the villages to explain them how to bring the knowledge and the vision of your country, of your tradition to the others, how to put it in front of you. And all of things this need technology. I don't mind, for example, using the international experience. It's good. Sometimes the international experience and exchange of experiences giving very positive impact. But at the end of the day, those who will implement that are living in the villages, in the small cities, and inside the country. This young generation, which will acquire this knowledge on different levels, will bring something new to the service level, to the promotion of the country. And I think these three things are very connected to each other. Cultural activity, intangible heritage, and education of the local communities dedicated to these problems. And I think it will be giving very good results at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Minister De Lille, earlier you talked about the visa reforms, air access that you have created. It's helped with visitation for South Africa. But if we're being real, at times also what people meet when they're on the ground matters. And I'm talking about oftentimes xenophobic attacks, right? It's been in the headlines, especially against Africans who are living in South Africa. How are you changing that perception? And my second question is, how are you also rebuilding the national carrier as well? I'd love to fly on South African Airlines once again. I did 10 years ago, but we'd love to see the revival of that initiative as well.
Yes, thank you. I can tell you this, my sister, that as South Africans, we are not xenophobic. I think there's a debate taking place now in our country, and we have seen what is happening there. But the official government position is that we need to, and the local South Africans are reacting to undocumented, illegal foreigners in our country. That has led to a competition for scarce resources between the locals and the undocumented foreigners in our country. So to find a solution, because it's not just only in South Africa where you find this immigration problem, we have to agree and acknowledge that the fault line in our continent is unemployment. And that all the economies in Africa must grow together. And we must create jobs so that there's no need for people to migrate from one country to the other. So that is a responsibility for all African leaders put together to deal with the problem of migration. Then you also asked the question about South African Airways, but just before I get to that, I also think that we need to see more regional cooperation amongst African countries so that we can unlock the shared benefits of going out and marketing our regions and marketing our continent. We need to see more of that. Our own airline carrier, South African Airways, has gone through, during the time of COVID, was completely almost destroyed and had to go into business rescue. And it's finally come out of business rescue and with a turnaround strategy. So we have now got back to about 65% of the previous capacity of South African Airways. But our strategy has been to rebuild the routes within the continent and make South Africa a gateway into a continent. And from there you can go on to Zimbabwe, Tanzania. And that strategy has worked for us. And now we're able to go to Brazil, for instance, to Australia. So we're slowly building it back because it is a national asset. But my last point that I want to put forward also is that we are here at an investment summit. And Minister, you've got a beautiful conference center here. What's going to happen? When is your next conference and meeting in this beautiful center in the next month or two? We need to promote the MICE sector more in the continent so that we can have conferences, meetings, and incentives in these beautiful facilities that we have. We have just hosted the G20 in South Africa last year, and we hosted 135 business events. So I see a big opportunity for the MICE sector in the region and in the continent. And then lastly, also investment. I think first of all, we need to make sure that all projects that we prepare for investment must be bankable. And when I say bankable, included in the bankability must also be project preparation, included in that. And then we then have to have again regional cooperation so that we seek investment for the region and provide opportunities. That's why even in South Africa, we are having our own investment conference again in October, in October this year. And where we will be putting forward infrastructure investment, tourism infrastructure, bankable projects together. So I look forward to closer cooperation through UN Tourism, through WTTC. I think when we go to these forums as Africans, we don't caucus before the time. We go there and each one is just for himself and God for all of us. I think we need to go into these international forums more united as a bloc, and I think through that, as African countries, we can secure a lot more benefits for our continent. I thank you, Veronica. Virginia, sorry.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Mr. Rwodzi, let me come to you because you host one of the natural wonders of the world, Victoria Falls. And oftentimes, when a country has such a big asset and a single asset, it's limited to just that. How are you marketing more of your other offerings within the country so people know that this is what I can come for outside of something like Victoria Falls?
Thank you very much. Yes, Victoria Falls is our pride and a pride of the region, SADC as a whole. And we are happy to share. So when I was sitting there in the morning, someone was sitting behind me, was telling their neighbor that I'm from Zambia and we own Victoria Falls. That's our best. I just checked him out and I said, that's good, regardless that we share Victoria Falls. So it's not Zimbabwe's product. It has not become Zimbabwe's product alone. It has become South Africa's product. It has become Zambia's product, Botswana and others. Because when they knew the norm now in tourism, the new tourist, when he or she is coming from America, Australia, or from far, they are not just coming for one product. They want to see South Africa, Zimbabwe, and so this core marketing has made Victoria Falls so big, and we cannot own it on our own. We own it together with Africa, but more so the SADC region. So yes, it is very imperative that we now show or demonstrate what Zimbabwe has besides Victoria Falls. My only president's best place is the Eastern Highlands. I love it too. And it offers what God has given Zimbabwe in a natural setting without being named one of the 7 wonders. Mountainous, it's where we promote our agro-tourism and where we also promote a little bit of wildlife, but more so agriculture, but in a very beautiful setting. That's one of our products that we can, but we have our Lake Kariba, we have Great Zimbabwe, which is the origin of any Zimbabwean who is called Zimbabwean. We have a number of places that we can own. But let me say, strategically, as I said, the president has written an NDS, a document for the strategy of economic growth in our country. He has devolved his finances. His treasury is now devolved from the national to the province, all the way to the ward. So all the programs and all the projects in the government leaves no one and no place behind, because he has an objective of an upper middle income society by 2030. Therefore, all the ministries and all the departments in the government has to devolve their programs. And tourism has devolved our biggest travel expo, which we call Sanganai Hlanganan. And last year we took it to the Eastern Highlands. We bring in a lot of our source markets operators to show them what else we have, because of course Zimbabwe is known for Victoria Falls. It has done wonders in the Indian source market. We started devolving it last year to Eastern Highlands. Some people know it as Mutare, but now a lot of Indians are now coming and asking to go to Eastern Highlands. They may want to see Victoria Falls because no one wants to come and not see one of the greatest wonders of the 7 wonders of the world. But now they're asking to go to Eastern Highlands. And strategically, again, we introduced a commercial flight there for the first time. Connectivity, very key. But it's not just regional in Africa, but even internal for our domestic tourism. Someone spoke passionately about domestic tourism. But now, if we offer, or if we demonstrate the world that we have something else, how do they connect to go there? So we also, at the same time as we were, for the first time, taking Sanganai to that place, Eastern Highlands, we introduced a commercial flight. This year, we are taking it to Mashingo, which is where Great Zimbabwe is. People don't know it, the international, but also the internal, our own people. They know we have Great Zimbabwe because they study. It's within our heritage-based education that the president has introduced, because it's ours, let our people know. But many Zimbabweans have not been there. Again, we are introducing a commercial flight to Great Zimbabwe. We are doing it slowly. Our economy, as you know, is on a recovery, but our president also came up with a strategy, and he has a mantra that he says, brick by brick, stone upon stone will be there. So every year as tourism, we are introducing other products and other facilities that we have in our country. And when we move going there, because of the budget issue that the Minister Balala was talking about, when I talk about my budget in cabinet, in parliament, it's only now because we have won these awards that you spoke about. Now I can be heard. And economically, we are proving that tourism is a masterpiece to improve our economy. But it's not easy as well because the budget is demanded everywhere. Our mining is big, our agriculture is also big, our manufacturing is very big. We have the biggest steel manufacturing company for steel in Africa. And it also demands its own budget. But however, I'm grateful that we are being heard now. And as we take it to all these places, we'll be introducing, the airports are existing, great thing, but they need refurbishment. They need to be upgraded just for the domestic tourists to be able to go there, but also for the internationals when they come into the country, they need to reach there easily. They need to make a choice. Is it by rail, is it by road, or is it by air? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you also for highlighting this emerging trend of people tapping into these tourism ecosystems, if you will, in the region, and just what that's doing to transform the sector. Sheikh Al-Gahtani, I'm just very curious, because you're the money man on the panel. When you think about investing, what are you looking for? And, for a lot of the emerging markets here, how do they start to position themselves to get that real capital that you're ready to spend? What do they need to do?
Thank you, Victoria. And I must say, I love this panel. Big round of applause, please. National and natural assets are very important. But I really believe that private sector and capital follows not only confidence, clarity, but investable environments. The very basics that His Excellency Najib and everyone else here is saying. Build the fundamentals. And I think the most important one is the alignment. 10 years ago, my company had zero investments or interest in tourism at large. Today, it represents one of the top 3 within our company. And that because the private sector is very smart, and it will follow. And I must say, I really believe the next decade is for Africa, if they put it correctly. And I'm sure they have the brains, the minds, and the interest to make it happen. Tourism is not a sector, in my opinion, and this is why it shouldn't be a budget issue. Tourism is all about national transformation. And I think, and it's an economic diversification. It's about job creation. I think the number of visitors game is important. But I think also, and I'm sorry to say that in a very capital terms, but the amount of the dollar that is created per visitor is as important. I think, and this is a question that we had asked ourselves in Saudi, publicly and privately, but I think this is also a very important question when you're working on your national strategies. What will make this visitor, this guest, will come again for Victoria Falls? Okay. And it's the storytelling, it's the memories, it's the excitements, it's the opportunity. And I think this is why tourism today is nothing about a great hotel, a great airport. It's about experience. It's about being able to connect. And I think for that, Angola and Africa has a lot to offer. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner, Sheikh Al-Gahtani has made a very bold statement that the next 10 years, the next decade belongs to Africa. To actually ensure that from the African Union perspective, and there's so many instruments and policies, SATM, AFCFTA, that have been put in place to connect the continent further. How do we get them to actually work and to start to see them bear fruit? How does the AU move that needle in a meaningful way for tourism?
Thank you so much for the question, and I think it's a very important question. You have said it, we have policies, we have programs, we have strategies, which are known by all our countries. But what I personally realized as I came in the AU that we didn't have, it was a serious private sector commitment in that. And all of us have said it here, the role of the private sector is very important. The African Union currently is working in not only identifying private sector throughout the different countries, but also major continental organizations in the sector, in the tourism sector. And we are finalizing an MOU in order to start working together in promoting the Agenda 2063 on tourism sector, which has as one of the criteria or of the objectives in really getting an Africa-free, visa-free project. We're working on this project. We are working also in building in critical infrastructure all throughout the continent. And what is particularly important, we are really working in reinforcing private sector in order for them to be enabled to deliver the services and the quality that is required. And one other factor in which we are working is it's really the training of the different professions that are relevant for this sector. Our current approach is really going away from the drafting of reports into more implementation and private sector engagement. Thank you so much.
Thank you, fantastic. Waziri, let me come to you. You may be wondering why I call him Waziri. It's Swahili for minister, and he was my minister for many years. But let me finish with you, because you talked about something that was also echoed by Minister de Lille, fighting for budgets at the cabinet table, right? And that's just the reality for a lot of tourism ministers across the continent. How do they fight to ensure that it's part of economic policy, that tourism really can be a driver. What tips would you give to those who are seated in that seat at the cabinet table to advocate for those budgets?
Thank you very much, Victoria and colleagues. First of all, people think about tourism as if it's just a vacation and going on the beach and going on a safari and taking a holiday. But tourism is an economic engine of development. If you convince the politician that this is going to bring you votes, they will take you seriously. That's why Minister Barbara here, yeah, it's about votes. My sister here, Barbara, said it very clear. When they won awards, they are now being taken seriously. So when you have an impact to the community and to your country, then definitely you will be sitting on the table. And that we have to create. That's why us in WTDC, we don't just say, Kenya has 2.7 million tourists, we bring $4 billion. No. We calculate everything, we say no. Kenya brings $12 billion. When the Minister of Finance listens and gets to see it is $12 billion, then they will start finding out how can we make more, and they will involve you much more. So we have to bring, we as Ministers of Tourism have a big responsibility to convince our colleagues that we matter in those portfolios. It's not just about going to conferences. You know, my former Minister of Defense says, I wish I am the Minister of Tourism. Because she thought I am traveling everywhere, I am taking pictures, I am active. But it's not about just taking pictures and going to nice places, Kruger National Park or Victoria Falls or Masai Mara. No. It's about how do we create economic a ripple effect to the economy. And that is what we want to create. So yes, we need to create value. If we don't create value, then we are irrelevant. And that's why I see an opportunity in Africa. In Africa, we are growing by 5%, as my sister Patricia here said, 5%. It is not really with the assets that we possess in Africa, from Cape Town to Cairo. I think we can do much more. Instead of us generating only $12 trillion, we can generate actually $20 trillion by creating those assets, making them bankable, bringing the finances, creating the 7 principles of an investment code where there's predictability by the government in terms of legal and regulatory framework, in terms of governance, in terms of involvement on creating the master plans and the strategies. Those are the things that will bring investors. By having a beautiful asset and you have no strategy or no incentives, it doesn't work. I'll give you an example finally. 2008, we didn't have a single international brand in Nairobi. The only brands that we had were 2 brands, Intercontinental and Hilton Hotels. And these were brands that were brought in 1970. Yeah. But 2008, I sat down with my Minister of Finance. I convinced him if he gives me an investment code that is going to be attractive to investors, I'll get all the brands. 10 years later, 2018, we had all the international brands in Nairobi, and today, every day, there's a new hotel opening in Nairobi. It's because the Minister of Finance understood the value of the Minister of Tourism. So all of us have a responsibility. We have actually to glue on our Ministers of Finance and convince them that we matter, then you'll get your help. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for my distinguished panel. Fantastic insights. Thank you so, so much. And let's see if the next decade is indeed Africa's. Thank you very much.